Hey, everybody. Hey, hey Megan.
Hey.
Hi, Megan.
Hey.
Hope everybody's doing good.
Dawn, you and Shannon are just taking advantage of all these classes. Dawn and Shannon were both here yesterday.
You were.
That's awesome. I missed yesterday. I had planned to attend, but I had a family emergency. So
you're okay. They're gonna have another, I'm sure.
Yeah. Hey, Jessica. It's good to see you on here.
You too. How are you?
I am doing good. How are you doing?
Doing good.
Good. Brenda, Shannon, it's also good to see you ladies. Dawn, you as well. we have just a few more minutes. We're going to continue to let people in as they pop up. Guys, we're waiting on just a few more people to pop in, but we are here, so just bear with us for just a few more minutes.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Realtor Safety Session. This is series 1 of 3, and I hope you get to join us for all 3 series because Michelle and I certainly are excited to present this on behalf of the CCAR. Obviously, the purpose of this session is to make us all aware of the dangers, and obviously, we all know there's a very dangerous factor in being a real estate agent these days, and has been a dangerous job for many years. But it's kind of like ethics in a way. You want to come back to the trough and look at this topic again more frequently. And the reason why is that when we have this knowledge in the back of our mind and we're aware of our circumstances and certainly have some thoughts and tools in the bag, so to speak, when we get under stress, we can operate more efficiently, and we're empowered to have some strength to do things. So when I look through some of the data and try to figure out what would be some things to present today for the association, is I just went to the NAR and started there and got some good data from 2018. And basically 60% of the agents say that their brokerage has no safety plan. Well, that's kind of dangerous in itself. So I think if you're sitting there as a BIC and a team leader, you probably need to think about having a written safety plan and then keep it updated every year and do some training on it, you know, every 6 months or something, and do some scenarios. But with 60% of the agents saying their brokerage has no safety plan that they're aware of, that means we do need to step up our game. We know we live in a more violent society these days, and there's a lot of fear. And actually, when they did the survey, 44% of females feared their personal safety. The men's statistics were obviously down further than that. But that means close to half of you are scared on occasion when you're going out to show homes if you're a female agent. So we want to equip you with these 3 series that I hope you'll stick with us and enjoy. The 3rd series is going to be hands-on, and you're going to see me and Michelle do some crazy stuff and some role players. And it will involve a lot of fun, and you'll laugh and cackle at us. But we want to give you some tools to go home with and to think about these things and to get some things prepared in advance. So that is the purpose, and I think Michelle has something to say on that regard.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the biggest thing is we want everybody to have situational awareness of what you're going into, what you're getting involved in. We've all heard the horror stories of agents that's been attacked. And our goal is to minimize that. And we want to do everything we can to help prepare you and minimize that as much as we can.
Absolutely. So what is it that we need to do? What do we need to think about? Well, since we talked about planning, each one of us, we're responsible for our own safety. We can't depend on our brand to be there with us when we are doing the job as an independent contractor. So if you want to go home at the end of the day, it's really up to you. Each realtor needs a safety plan. You need to think through scenarios and how you would respond to certain things. So today we want to give you some outlines to go by, and it needs to be a simple plan. If you've got a simple plan, it makes it easier to implement, and it needs to be usable. One thing that we came up with that we felt like is really critical these days, now that we have cell phones and tracking ability and the ability to use technology to our advantage, is certainly have our cell phone with us, and we'll talk more in depth about that here in a minute. But before we get out to the showing, every chance you have, if you've got that time before the showing occurs to run some MLS information, get your data together about the property, and even before that, as much as you can gain about the customer. When you get a cold customer, obviously we need to clarify, qualify, see what we can get when we're talking to them, so that we can figure out who is their lender. We want to ask questions about that person as much as we can without violating any fair housing laws. But we want to try to gather, if you worked with an agent in this area before, what is your purpose for moving here? Why are you relocating? Let's try to figure out what we can. Is your business here? How long have you worked in this area? Who all do you know at your business that's been here a long time? Anything that would suggest some additional information you can glean, because they may mention a name like Michelle Steely that you go, oh yeah, I know Michelle, or Kirk Hansen. Everybody knows Kirk Hansen from the Christmas CCAR. So, then you feel a little bit better. Then you may even want to call Kirk Hansen and say, hey, you know this guy or this person? And then Kirk can say, yeah, he's nuts, leave him alone. Then that's good for me. I won't mess with it. But when I say that, we need to have a buddy system. Having a buddy system is important, because you need an advocate for yourself when you're out here doing your plan. And part of your plan should include a buddy system, okay? And let me catch up on the slides. So when you're able to gather all this information and you put in place your network of buddies, let's say, not everybody might be available every day that you go show. But if you've got a network of buddies, even co-realtors that you work with in the office, have somebody available to be a part of that showing virtually with you on your cell phone, whether it's just listening in on the cell phone call when you get out and you start doing your showing.
And just for the record, I'm just going to add in here, it doesn't even have to be a realtor.
That's exactly right.
I have, sometimes my sister will go with me. She stays in the car, but she's there and she's available if something should happen. And if she feels like it's taken longer than it should, she will come check on me. My husband has went with me to showings as well. Another thing I wanted to add, be consistent. Even if it's somebody you've known for 10 years, if you ask for a driver's license from one, you need to ask for it from all. And that's one of the big things that the NAR has enforced with fair housing. And we can't not ask, if we ask for one, we can't not ask it for all. So just be consistent and mindful. If you ask for driver's license, which I think that's a very wise and smart thing to do, because it gives you an idea of who you're meeting. And I also ask who else will be in attendance at the showing, who else is coming with you. That way you have an idea of the number of people that's going to be there, who's coming, and with everything going on with COVID and everything else, you're really the only people that need to be showing up for showings are going to be the buyers. And I kind of stress that when I talk to somebody, especially if it's a new person. And then I have a form I ask them to fill out, and it asks, who the buyers are, and it just says buyers. It doesn't say husband and wife or spouse. It just says buyer 1, buyer 2. It has a place for their current address, their lender information, and I ask for copies of their driver's license. And I do that for every single person I meet with, whether it's somebody I've known 25 years or if it's somebody I'm just meeting for the first time.
You should always let that buddy know where you're going to be. What's the address? What's the time you're intending on being there? How long potentially you may be there, so that they can have an idea in case you lose connection or they don't hear from you. They have the ability to let authorities know, or they will come by and check on you themselves. So it's important to get prepared for it in advance as fast as you can. Now, I know signed callers, they're already there waiting on a fresh body to let them in the house. So you don't have that ability sometimes to do all of this prep. But when you have that ability, try to have that prep made in your professional network and with your documents that you might take with you. And then upon approach, make sure, and this is for men and women agents, try not to flash your expensive jewelry. You know what I mean? If you look rich, you look, glitzy, you may become a faster target than somebody that's just more modestly dressed. If you're carrying a high price pocketbook, that just makes you look like you're wealthy and you may have money. 2% of the realtors in the NAR survey said that they were victims of robbery. 1% said that they were victims of the assault or some type of assault. And that's 1% too many in my book and 2% too many to be robbed. So anything we can do to reduce that opportunity, they may psychologically look at you and go, well, she's not a rich agent or he's not a rich agent. And then you just move forward and hopefully everything will go well. If you can arrive early to prepare yourself, do a quick run through the house, make sure obviously everything's safe and that you know the escape routes. You must know what routes you could take if you needed to make a quick escape. And where are the danger zones? Homes with basements, things like that. You need to know what buildings are on the property. And if you were to open that door to that building, are you going to go in or stand near the front entrance of that outbuilding or that garage? I would keep in mind that if you get inside that building with an unknown person, your risk of being assaulted or becoming a victim has just increased significantly. So that's why we need to have that buddy in our network prepped and ready to go. One thing that I would suggest, if you're working with a situation that you have the hair on the back of your neck raised up, listen to your gut. And also maintain contact with your buddy upon approach to the house. Let them know, okay, I'm arriving at the house. Everything looks good outside. Because if this person is really going to make an attack on you, there's a strong possibility that they have already done their pre-event planning and they know what they're going to do before you do. So it's important for you to have that same advantage if you can. But maintain that open phone contact throughout the duration of the showing. Just walk around like we always do with our cell phones in our hand, with the phone on. If for some reason you lose contact, that buddy's going to call you back. And so if you hear it ringing or feel the phone, it's ringing, go ahead and answer it. Say, excuse me a minute, and then answer it. Say, yeah, I'll be right with you. And thanks for the call. And then just keep on walking around or stand near the front. We recommend, and Michelle can touch a little bit on where to be in the house and what not to do once we get in the home.
Yeah, I strongly suggest, and I actually set expectations with my clients as to, I'm not going to go with you into the basement and I'm not going to go with you onto the second level. I will stay on the first level. Please feel free to look around. The only time I accompany is if the listing agent has requested that the agents stay with the clients, but most of the time I do set that expectation that I'm not going off the first floor. I'm going to stay in the kitchen or in the living room, and please come back and ask me any questions that you have. That allows me to have a safer and better escape route. You do not want to go into a basement with someone. Basements can be a very, not only scary, but a very opportunist place for someone to take advantage of you in the situation. And everybody knows that sometimes robberies and assaults happen when they have the opportunity. So if you take that opportunity out of the equation, it's less likely that that will happen. Setting those expectations up front it'll keep you safe. It'll keep your clients knowing that, hey, she's not going to come down here, or she's not going to come up here. And it also allows you to make sure that no one else enters the home. And that's something that has happened to me, I know, where I was in a situation, I was showing a home, the front door had been busted in. We were at the back of the home and someone came in. Luckily, I had my firearm on me, and I pulled my jacket back so that it could be seen. The person exited the house when I asked him to do so. And then when we came out, he was actually gone, but he was supposedly waiting on a realtor. I really felt like he was up to no good. But just be aware and mindful. If you stay in the front room, you would know if someone else entered. I always make sure that whatever way I enter is also the way I exit, and that I can make a clear exit and there's nothing in my path or my way. Be mindful of bushes. And this is, guys, let's just face it. Sometimes it's not the person that we're meeting with that's the opportunist, and that will be the person that assaults or robs us, or worse yet, take our life. It may be somebody that's just there in the neighborhood. So just be mindful of people also standing around. I don't park in driveways. If I can, I park on the street. There are times that you have to park in a driveway, but make sure that you're parked in a way that someone can't block you in. If you get blocked in, that prohibits you from being able to escape. So just keep those things in mind.
And another thing to do is have a code word or a code statement that once that buddy of yours hears those comments or that code word, they know at that point you're in trouble or you're in imminent trouble to call the police and get somebody there to check on you. So having that pre-planned with your buddies and keeping it consistent, because you're going to be the only one using that code word. So have the same one for all of your buddies in your network. When you say those words or that one word, you can say, hey, I forgot my red file. Then that's going to signal to the buddy, there's a problem, I'm calling police. And time matters, because within 2-3 minutes, you could be dead or you could be in the process of being assaulted. And the faster law enforcement gets contacted, they're probably within a 5 to 6 minute response range with emergency situations. So have that code word. And the other thing that you're going to start seeing maybe real soon in that first initial contact is body language signals. And let's talk just real briefly about some body language signals that may come into play. When you watch them look around, they're seeing if anybody's watching this process take place, looking over their shoulder as if to see if anybody is coming up behind them or in the neighborhood, neighbors watching. When you're close enough and you see increased respirations and their pulse is beating out of their neck and they keep looking at you with maybe a flushed face or that bewildered look, wild-eyed, I guess is the best way to describe it, some overexcitement, because they're getting excited they know their adrenaline's pumping because they've got their plan already designed. They're ready and committed to commit some type of action. So you're on the defense at that point. They're already on the offense because their nervous energy and their adrenaline, it's rushing in advance before something happens. I know I spent 30 years in law enforcement, and boy, when you started seeing those signs on people, you better get ready because you're getting ready to go into a fight mode with somebody. So you need to start thinking then when those body language signals pop out, increased respirations, they seem to be, I mean, there shouldn't be anything that would create that chest to rise and fall unless they have health issues, obviously, or aged and that kind of thing where they're breathing very hard. But, you know, a 30-year-old man who's seemingly, breathing real heavy and getting his pulse visible in his neck and his voice starts changing and maybe some sweating, there is something getting ready to happen. Get your distance between that person. Even if you have to just immediately say, I'm sorry, I've got to leave, I have an emergency. Get away. Leave the house sitting. It's okay. They're not going to be able to drive the house off. Go away, get your distance. That way you're going to be able to call law enforcement to come and help you, or a buddy to come and help you, to make sure this person's gone and that you can secure the home later. But just get away when those kinds of things start to happen. And again, if you lose that connection with that buddy and that buddy can't get that contact reestablished, then I would recommend to the buddy to go ahead and call law enforcement to do a realtor safety check at that address, because you are reporting the concern on behalf of your fellow agent, and that you've lost contact during the showing and you haven't been able to reestablish, and you're concerned for that agent's safety. Law enforcement will go do a property check, and it's very simple, and they won't travel with the blue lights and siren on unless you give them some urgency to do that. So keep that in mind. You can always call back and cancel that response if you're able to reconnect after you've called law enforcement and that kind of thing. In talking about cell phones, do not let that become a hindrance to you. Do not keep your face in that cell phone. And I know you're working multiple offers. I know that you are trying to look at due diligence repairs and responses from clients on whether or not they're going to accept. Okay, I get that. I'm the same way. You get out, you go, oh shoot, what did they just say? And you're busy while you're showing. Leave that stuff until you get back in the car. You're looking for body language. You're listening for things, other people, other voices that they may have allowed into the home in the back of the house while you were standing at the front. You're listening, watching, and interpreting things that may be imminently happening that could concern you and your ability to escape. One thing as you approach, and let me digress a little bit and go back to the approach to the home. I invested when I got in the real estate business about 5 years ago after I retired from Concord PD. I bought a $39 dash camera from Amazon, and I've carried it in my car every day. And it just sticks into my windshield with a suction cup, and it keeps rotating the videos. It uses up the available space, and it keeps the fresher video recycling in the chip. But the reason I like that is if something does happen, there could be some available video that would enhance law enforcement's ability to investigate that situation that was perpetrated against me and gather some evidence to go after somebody. I actually recorded a near miss on Highway 49 and 601 this past week. If you're my Facebook friend, you probably saw it, where this car ran a red light at 601 and Cold Springs Road. And I couldn't help but to play it on, I offloaded it on the video because it's good every now and then to check your equipment to make sure it works. The other thing to do is use the apps available. I know me and my wife, we share our locations because I'm not out doing things I'm not supposed to. So I want her to see where I am, and I'm not trying to hide myself from her. We've been married 34 years and there's no concern for me to be hiding myself.
My husband and I do that too.
Yeah. So I think you include your buddies into that as well, people that you feel comfortable. And if you need to cut them off at various intervals because you maybe fell out of relationship with that friend and you don't want them and your buddy to know where you are anymore, especially if you got the Find My iPhone or and the GPS tracker on Android devices,
Google Maps,
Life 360. Use those things because those can be helpful, especially if communication's gone, or if you haven't heard from your buddy and you know they were showing like 3 or 4 different homes, things cooled off, and you just want to check on them, click on them and make sure they're still somewhere and what their last address was in case they do call you and they can't talk. Because sometimes they might be able to give you a quick call and they're afraid to say anything. So then you need to be tracking them as best as you can.
And that's where it's important too. And I meant, it was on a previous slide. It was plan your showing and show your plan. So if you're going to share your showing plan with a buddy, make sure you stick to your showing plan. And if there's a change, text that buddy and say, hey, we're not seeing this house. Instead, we're going to this house. So it's always smart to share your plan with someone and show them, plan your showing and show your plan. That way you've got an idea of where you're going to be. And if you're supposed to be back at the office in an hour and a half and it's 2 hours later and you're not here, they have some idea of where you were at and the time frame you should have been at each place.
Here is a video that we had some wonderful role players to help us with on how not to conduct a showing.
Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm just working all weekend. Oh, well, hey, let me go. This guy called off my listing sign and he just pulled up. I've never met him before. I gotta sell something. I haven't sold anything all month. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye. Hey, how are you?
Howdy.
Hey, I'm sorry I didn't catch your name on the phone.
I'm Bill.
Okay, nice to meet you. I'm Liz.
Nice to meet you, Liz.
I'm just trying to find this lockbox code really quick. Can you give me just a second? Sorry, I can't find it. Okay, so this is the living area. We're headed to the kitchen. This house is 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Oh, hang on. This is my babysitter. You don't mind if I get this right?
Sure.
Okay, sorry. Hey, what's going on? Oh, he won't stop crying. Oh my gosh. Did you give him the milk? He drank all of that. Okay. Did you try giving him puffs? Oh, okay. I don't know what's up. Maybe he's got, I don't know. Maybe he's got tummy issues this morning. Who knows? He was fine. I'm sorry. No.
Where's the basement?
Right over here. Yeah, I think that's
Okay,
it.
if I go
Right
to
here.
the basement?
Yeah, no, go ahead. That's fine. Yeah, here it is.
Hey Liz, can you come down to the basement? I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah, I'm on the way. I gotta go.
So that gives you an idea of what not to do in showing a property to somebody you don't know.
Couple of things I wanted to point out is, first, she allowed herself to get blocked in. She was so distracted, she didn't see that there was a second person in the vehicle. She walked in front of them and
Stayed on her phone.
Stayed on the phone and distracted the whole time. And then she allowed herself to be lured down into the basement. And the second person was able to come in the house, grab the keys, lock the door, and shut and lock the basement door as well. So those things, you guys, you got to be mindful of. My very first showing, I was so excited. I ran out of my house, didn't tell nobody where I was going, did the showing, left the keys in the door, left the door wide open. didn't know who I was really meeting, had never met him before. If I, led him through the house, walked in first, went upstairs, went downstairs, went to the basement with him. I didn't know who he was. And looking back on it, I go, how naive was I? And I know I've been trained and I know to be aware of my situation, but sometimes we get excited, we get in a hurry, we get distracted, and we don't do the things and we become complacent. And those things can end up hurting us in the long run.
So what do? Well, you've got to start considering, do I carry personal defense weapons? Is this something I'm going to feel comfortable with? Well, NAR says that 43% of realtors carry something. There's various choices that you can use, obviously, and 16% surveyed carried pepper spray. Pepper spray is very good. I would recommend that if you're going to use pepper spray is at the beginning and maybe even periodically, go buy you an extra can or two and squirt a tree or get an idea of how, if you mash this button, how far does it squirt and how steady can you keep that stream and going towards that target. So it's kind of like firearms training. You want to be able to know the first time you use that pepper spray shouldn't be on somebody. It should be on an object where you've got your target, and it's worth the investment of an extra canister or two to practice it. And so look at carrying pepper spray, because that's a close personal defense weapon that if you've got it in your hand with your keys, usually it's a lot more mobile. And that's why so many people feel more comfortable with pepper spray. But again, the cautions on pepper spray is that sometimes if you get excited and you've never used it before, and the first time you're mashing that button, you may not even mash it because you don't know where your finger goes on it and how to depress the button on it and how it works. That's just a terrible situation to be in. You need to be confident that when you mash that button, it's going to do something, because you may have to be squirting it over your shoulder and not in your face. You need to think about that kind of stuff.
Also, on the pepper spray, make sure that if you do choose to carry pepper spray can expire. So make sure that it's within the expiration dates. Keep an eye on that. Pepper spray can get clogged. So periodically pull it out, make sure that it is spraying properly and the nozzle's not clogged. Those
are great points. And use your expired pepper sprays for future training.
Absolutely.
That's a good use of that. And 15% of realtors surveyed carried firearms, which I thought was a high amount, because I feel like most of society feels fearful of even having a firearm. But 15% of agents in that survey said they did carry firearms. So the next question is going to be, how do I go about selecting a firearm and going through the process of getting my permit? And I'm going to let Michelle talk about that, because Michelle and her husband are concealed carry instructors and can give you a lot more information about that topic.
Yeah, so with carrying concealed, you have to go through a class, and it's a one-day class. It's all-day class. It's usually 8 hours of classroom and then range time. So you're looking 10 to 11 hours, sometimes 10 to 12, depending on how many students are in the class. Once you get the class, then you're able to go and apply for your permit at the sheriff's department in the county that you live. That can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months. Depending on how backed up the sheriff's department is, how fast you can get your appointment. And then I always suggest, don't let the day that we spend together at the range in the class be the last day that you practice. You've got to practice the way you carry. So if you're going to carry in a purse, I suggest going to the range with that purse and shooting holes. It don't necessarily have to be that exact purse, but shoot some holes through a purse so you know how the gun's going to react, how it's going to feel, how the trajectory is, how well do you shoot. Practice some real life situations. If you're going to carry on your waist or in a waistband, using a holster, not using a holster. If you use just a waistband holster, practice that way. Practice drawing that way. You don't have to necessarily go to the range to practice. You can unload your weapon. Please make sure it's unloaded. Please make sure it's unloaded. But you can practice drawing at your home. The biggest thing is you've got to practice the way you carry, and you're only going to be as sufficient as the way you carry or the way you practice. If you don't practice, just like with the pepper spray, you're not going to be able to react timely in a real life situation. And then you don't want it to be you to be put in a situation where what you're using to defend yourself then becomes a weapon against you.
And if you decide to do a concealed carry weapon, keep in mind the North Carolina statutes on safety, keeping your weapon safe at home if you've got children, because they tend to get curious, and we need those locked up so that we keep our children safe. So keep that in mind if you decide to go with a weapon.
Absolutely. And if you do,
remember your kids.
If you do keep it in your purse, make sure your purse is not accessible to kids. I've heard too many incidents where kids have gotten hold of firearms from mama's bag and done some damage. And unfortunately, firearms can be dangerous, but if used properly, they can also protect your life.
One last touch on weapons. Just a good old kitchen knife, a steak knife. Believe it or not, you carry a portfolio. I didn't bring mine out of the car, but a leather portfolio that you can slide your steak knife into that thing with your papers and keep it kind of where you can pull it out if you need it. If someone grabs you from behind and you got your portfolio, you can slide that knife and maybe go behind you. We'll talk more about that in session 3. So don't miss session 3. You'll want to be a part of that. Just like we mentioned earlier, you are responsible for your own safety, and you have to decide what type of plan will be simple and usable for yourself. And how can you incorporate more people into your network and your buddy plan so that when you do these showings and you try to make, a living doing this business, that you can stay safe. Also in open houses. We haven't touched on open houses, but there are important things to do to remain safe during those encounters, especially if you're doing an open house by yourself, which I don't suggest doing an open house by yourself ever again. I know it's aggravating to have to incorporate other people sometimes, but please don't do open houses by yourself. Get somebody to come and be a part of that transaction, an extra set of eyes with you, because most of the homes we show do have multiple floors. And how many people are looking at our homes these days? Oh my gosh, they're coming in droves to look at anything decent these days. So make sure you're using good judgment and checking people in at the door, and you remain close to an exit door like the front door or whatever the main access is, so that if you do need to run, you can take flight and get away.
And just as a side note, if you don't have another agent in your office that's willing to do an open house, guys, reach out to our affiliates. A lot of the lenders will come and stay with you during the open house so that, you have at least 2 people there. I was at an open house and we had another listing behind us. And while we were at the open house, the listing that butted up against that house got broke into. So it can happen. And that happened during broad daylight with us just in the next yard over. So just be mindful of that.
And don't let this be the last day that you think about your safety in developing a plan. Take this afternoon, this week, this weekend, and think through how you're going to incorporate your personal plan, because next week could be the day that you get this scenario that Liz Hallman had, where she ended up in the basement and was distracted. We don't want you in that situation, because you're going to think about this scenario or this video that we're doing today on Zoom for Realtor Safety, and then it might be too late. So get your plan ASAP, reach out, get your buddy network, because the more that you prepare yourself, you're going to have confidence to handle these showings, and it's going to protect you during those moments of crisis, because you're going to be able to think clearly. You're going to have a roadmap in which you're going to be able to function from, because otherwise, if you get all discombobulated under stress, you're doomed. So have a plan that helps keep you with a roadmap and a way to be safe. You just clearly need to make a decision to live, folks. I'm going home. When I put on that uniform and went to work, my goal for 12 hours was The only
Okay,
rule
sorry.
that I'm not breaking today is I'm going home at the end of the shift, and so are my partners. And that was the number one rule. If we broke that rule, we broke all of them. So don't get complacent in your personal circumstance. Just because you've got 10 under contract this month doesn't mean you're riding high enough you can't have a personal safety plan. Because you need to think of 3 things. If you get into a life or death situation, this is the best roadmap to keep in your mind. 1, run. I told you, if you get at a showing and you got to politely leave or run, run. Let them laugh, let them giggle, but you made a decision to live. Number 2, if you have to, hide. Hide in a situation that you know if you get caught, you're going to die. Hide. And then if you're encountering a life or death situation, there was a realtor in Texas that Michelle and I read about, that she fought with everything she had. And she lived, but she was beaten up pretty bad.
She was, I think she ended up in ICU for a week or 10 days. So yeah, guys, to have the complacency and the mindset that, oh, it's not going to happen to me, or it can't happen here in Kannapolis or Concord. Yes, it can. Yeah. It's just, we're not here to scare you. We're not here to keep you from doing your job. We basically just want you to be aware and to be able to go home at the end of the day.
And listen to your gut.
Absolutely.
If something is telling you it sounds wrong, it smells wrong, it tastes wrong. I mean, sometimes you can taste the fear. Then that's your body and your instincts telling you this is a bad situation.
And it's okay, if you're at a showing and you get uncomfortable and you've got a bad feeling about whatever, it's okay to say, you know what, I'm sorry, I have a personal emergency. We need to go and leave. It is perfectly fine to do that. I would much rather have somebody call me and say, hey, I'm sorry, we didn't finish the showing. I was uncomfortable. Something happened. We left. I would feel much better about that than hearing of something tragic happening. We do have another video we wanted to share with you. And this video is going to highlight everything that's done right. And then once we're done with that, I think we're going to open it up for any questions, comments from you guys.
Hey, Jenna.
Hey, Bill, how are you?
Great to see you.
It is so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for taking the time to send me your license and signing the Working with Real Estate Agents. I look so forward to working with you. This is a great house. I cannot wait to show you. So
and you got my pre-approval?
I got your pre-approval.
Great.
I got everything in the email. I talked to your lender. She had great things to say about you. So let's go and take a look at it.
Oh, I'm excited.
Oh, and this is Liz. Liz is not
Liz.
showing, but we kind
Nice to meet
of
you.
shadow each other sometimes just to see how we're doing. And so we can't wait to help you.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah,
thank you, girls. I appreciate
ahead.
it. Let's do it.
So before we go in, I like to set some expectations. So what I'll do is Liz and I are going to kind of stay on the first floor, and we're going to let you walk through the house. If you have any questions, concerns, please holler. Let us know. We can talk about everything that you don't like or do like when you come back down to the main floor.
Sure.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go in.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll just be right down here. So if you have questions, let us know.
This is an amazing kitchen area. I love it. But I do have some equipment that I need to put in the basement. Could you tell me where the basement is? Because I need to look at the dimensions and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're going to go around this corner to your left, and it'll be the first door on your left. And if you have any questions while you're down there, you can just come back up, ask us. We'll be up here waiting on you.
Okay. We've already checked it out. Just so you know, we've already checked it out. So if you have any questions, just let us know.
All right.
Yep, absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Bill, I just wanted to check in on you. Everything going good down there?
Hey, Jenna. Yeah, it's going great. But would you be able to come down and answer a question for me?
Oh, I would love to. If you just want to come up here, we can talk about it in the kitchen. That'll work.
Okay, I'll do that.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. All right, so that's how to do one more correctly that will protect you. So what I would say at this point is, do you have any questions? Because we've kind of covered everything soup to nuts that we were going to do in this short session 1. Run, hide, fight, make a simple, usable plan, and have a buddy. How easy is that? Have a buddy. You saw in the video, Jenna incorporated a buddy to go with her on the showing. You know, always, if you feel like this is a first time showing and you don't feel comfortable showing these folks, don't know much about them, hey, it's worth a Starbucks gift card of 10, 20 bucks, 25 bucks to a coworker or to another agent to go with you. You know, buy them lunch, do something, you know, help each other out so that we can all make a decision to live and to be able to go home to our families. It's not worth that commission if we don't live to get it. So anybody got any questions or feedback as far as something that we could add to this session that we didn't think of in the material, or any things at all that you wish to talk about?
We're open for questions, comments, suggestions.
Well, I'm not a realtor, but I thought y'all did a wonderful job with the videos and all that. Y'all did great.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions, comments? We'll be more than happy to answer anything that we can.
So long and short, session 2 will be about office safety protocols. It'll be a little shorter probably than the other sessions. And then session 3 might be the longest of them all because we'll have more video incorporated into our conference. So, and it'll be funny too, but it's going to be helpful. We're going to talk about what to have in your car and in your trunk for safety, because sometimes you may get hijacked and you need to know how to get out of that situation, especially if they take your car, which would be the ideal thing if you're the realtor that's prepared and you have your realtor safety toolkit. So don't miss session 3. Other than that, Michelle, thank you for your assistance. And we appreciate all of you for taking your lunch hour today to jump in here and try to learn a little bit more about how we can make that decision to live, folks. We love you all. Thanks a lot and have a great day.
Thank you. Thank
we
you.
appreciate
Thank
you
you
guys. Thank y'all for attending. I hope everybody got something from it.